Is there a particular model of car whose drivers are always, making mistakes and never signal or whatever?
Yes, of course. It starts with a...
Hi, I'm JK.
And I'm Jade Rasif. Welcome to the Situation Report,
where we bring you insights into the situations that matter, and this situation matters. We're talking about driving culture in Singapore.
It's going to get heated today, but lucky we have an expert.
I'm going to talk about my hair loss. It's not because of my kids, it's because of driving in Singapore. We have Jason Lim, director of roads.sg, which, fun fact for you, it means respect others and drive safe. I never knew that acronym.
Yeah,
that's right.
Time. Reading the script, I was like, oh, that's smart.
Yeah. So it's not something we talk about a lot, but it's something that I thought fit very well in the acronym for roads. Yeah.
Which I love, because you've been the director of roads.sg since 2017. You have 500,000 plus viewers across all social media platforms. Overall views, much more than that. Yeah.
Way more. We have
tens of millions.
Millions each month. Yeah.
Wow. And I have to ask you, as someone who's been, watching all the dash cam footage since 2017, do you think the severity of Singapore accidents and the problems have gotten worse?
I would say that over time, people, the number of videos that we receive and the severity would appear to be increasing. But I want to caveat that real quickly by saying that actually the culture of recording incidents and sending it in was not present 10 years ago, was it? Right?
Everyone has the dash cam.
Correct, and it slowly started picking up. People started more and more dash cam proliferation. I think people started getting used to taking these incidents and clips and putting it up. So as someone who is consuming this content, it will appear like there's a lot more of this stuff going on, right? There are no I asked the traffic police about this as well. Right. There's actually no statistical evidence to say that it's worse now than previously, but you get to see a lot more of it today.
And the headlines everywhere, it's very tragic. We got children being involved in deaths. We got, cars that are reading red lights. So you're thinking it's the fact that people are actually recording. That's why we see him a lot more. And WhatsApp, oh my god, the WhatsApp uncles and aunties.
But also everyone has like a dash cam now. This wasn't so common.
Even the cyclists have the cycling cams already, right? So everybody has cams
You
today.
need one. Do you have a dash cam?
I do, but mine has a problem, Mine doesn't record like when I need to record. When my wife says something wrong in the car, I don't know, it stops recording. Anyway, we need to talk about this. There's something that happened recently, which is the red light cameras that are also catching speeding. There's a new thing, right?
The biggest new announcement by the traffic police, yes.
Okay, I don't want to say, I don't want to put myself in the bad light. I got caught in Melbourne around September last year because I didn't know that their red light cameras have speeding cameras. So I got, I think about 10 kilometers over, $380 fine in Australia.
That sounds good.
Yeah,
you
what do you mean that sounds good?
You should be fine.
$380.
Well, you were speeding though.
10 kilometers over.
Is that a lot?
So
I don't know.
interestingly, because I've driven in Australia as well, and I've taken my share of summons and fines from Australia, they are extremely strict. Like 1 kilometer per hour over, you're going to get the same fine.
Yeah.
There's no leeway at all. Yeah.
Singapore, there's a leeway. I cannot put my fingers up, but apparently there's a leeway, right?
No, there's no leeway, and I'm told to correct that. To correct that misnomer. There is actually no leeway. Yes, yeah.
So 800 violations caught by red light cameras in just 3 weeks of operation.
Incredible.
A lot. Do you think that's a lot or okay number? Or
no, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I think that it goes to show that really our motorists do slow down in response to cameras being on site. Right? Which means that cameras, speed cameras in particular, are actually very, very good deterrents, right?
It is.
They are very good deterrents because the public does respond to it and slow down appropriately. So now adding this to the places that have the most incidents, junctions, makes a lot of sense to me, yeah.
So therein lies my question, right? According to my statistics, the TP annual traffic report, there are less accidents involving speeding or running red lights, but when they do happen, the number of fatalities have increased.
Way more severe.
Why is that?
Way more severe. Well, you see, in general, right, anything that involves higher speed is going to give you a lot more problems, right? And I think that awareness is something that needs to be created. Now, I said earlier that I can't see a growth in severity or numbers, that kind of stuff, in terms of incidents, but the stats don't lie. And the same report that you're looking at is something that we publish on our pages as well. It shows that across the board, fatalities, death incidents involving children and elderly, deaths for motorcyclists and pillions has gone up across the board. And it's double-digit percentages, which is very scary.
Oh my God. Is there a reason why? Is it because we are driving faster when you need?
Any indication of why?
Yeah, so I wish I knew, but I'll give you my standpoint of someone who sees a lot of this content very embedded in this industry and climate. I mean, the colloquial understood reason is that we are living in a more and more stressful time. Everyone's rushing to something somewhere, right? There's a chance that there's tiredness involved. There's a lot of minds are distracted. I remember seeing one statistic that the #1 cause for incidents on the road is distracted driving. Think about it. What constitutes distracted driving, right?
Mobile phones, would you say?
Obviously, the advent of having mobile phones on your hands and all that all the time, and you know that there are huge fines and there are huge deterrents to it. But it's very hard to tell somebody, don't touch your phone for the next 45 minutes of being in a traffic jam. Right? Singaporeans in general, how many of you can be away from your phone for 45 minutes to an hour and not even look at it?
Speaking of phone, right? I don't want to get into trouble. I feel I'm going to get in trouble with this comment. I'm going to ask you a question. The #1, okay, to me from what I see, the #1 people who use their phones while driving have a blue sticker on the top left-hand corner of the windscreen. What is the statistics on that? Do you see any a lot of accidents involving PHV drivers?
Okay.
Or?
So first of all, we need to know that the numbers for PHV drivers have been increasing year on year for the last how many years,
not the accidents, the number.
So I do not have stats specifically related to PHV drivers, but because you're having a lot more people plying the road as a career, as a job now, you know, obviously things like you know, your tiredness level, how long you're driving and all that affects. Now, one important thing about PHV drivers that it's not like an excuse or anything, but they do have to use their phones to get jobs, to communicate with the passengers they're going to pick up. You know,
before I get flamed, I want to say that I don't say that all PHV drivers are bad, right? Okay, I want to put it out there first. I'm thinking that PHV drivers may be more tired because they're on the roads longer.
I agree.
Yes.
And they need the phones to work.
I agree.
Like, you know, to get the jobs. That's what I want to say first. Before I get any flaming, I just want to say out there. But my question is, do you see more videos involving PHV drivers or? We
receive a lot of videos, and I want to say that a lot of incidents do result from PHV drivers. Okay, but I want to caveat by saying it's not that they are worse drivers.
Because there are more of them.
Arguably, they are professional drivers, right? They do this for a living. Why would they be less safe, less confident, or less skilled than anybody else compared to someone like me who commutes to work and commutes back, right? I spend way less time on the road, right? However, I think it's just the sheer numbers and the sheer amount of time that they spend on the road that leads to the incidents being high.
You're just tired. You know, I got into an accident once. It was a PHV driver. He felt like he was falling asleep.
Oh no.
You were in the car?
I was in the car. He was falling asleep.
Did you wake him up? No.
I was like, "Sir, are you okay?" And then he was like, you know, like in that state. And then I thought, like, you know, he's a professional, will be fine. The next thing I know, he rear-ended the car.
Oh God.
High speed?
No, slow. I mean, he's falling asleep, right? So we're not going at a very high speed. But I mean, he wasn't okay after that, lah. But I was fine. So after that, now I always call them out. Like if I see someone on their phone, like if I see my drivers on the phone, I see anyone like texting, distracted, I will just say something, and I don't care about being a Karen.
What if your driver is driving like erratically or aggressively? Is that something that you would call out?
I will call out.
Being sarcastic, calling him out.
Yeah, that's how you got to do it, because you really have to take your safety into your own hands.
There's such an interesting thought process. Sure, there are people doing wild stuff on the road that you're trying to avoid, but there are things that you can see in advance, and experience counts on the road, doesn't it? Right? If I'm a pillion on someone's motorbike, and that person is riding in a way that I'm almost convinced will send me to God earlier, you know, what is my role there? Right? Because speaking up to a driver in a car that you have hired might not always get a good reaction.
You get angry.
You get what I mean, right? They might take it personally. So the question is, should I remain non-confrontational and potentially put myself at risk, or should I say something?
I think I'm on the camp of always saying something, because you never know like how many people you're going to help along the line, right? You know, if someone called him out for being sleepy and driving earlier, you could have saved his life. I mean, he didn't die. Sorry, not saved his life, but you could have saved him an accident, maybe a day's wages.
Exactly, it's a reality check for them.
Which leads to my next question about culture. So we talked about the accidents, but why are Singapore... Okay. All right, I need to take a deep breath.
You do, yes.
You're
getting into it, really, yeah.
Why are we generally, and I'm saying generally, why are we, when I compare driving to, say, when I was in Perth, I studied in Perth, why are Perth drivers so much more patient, nicer on the roads, not as entitled? There's a joke that my boss said, no? Singaporean drivers are entitled because we pay certificate of entitlement. So that's why we're entitled.
Gives us the right to be, right? We've got to cert for it.
But like, you know, we don't give way when people signal. We see people signaling, we speed up. You know, and small road to big road, yellow box, they drive into the yellow box to block you.
That's right, So, JK, this is a very interesting topic, because we living in Singapore, we like to think that the problems that we face feel extremely amplified because we are here on the roads. I've driven in more countries than I can count, because I love doing driving trips and riding trips in many different countries. And I want to tell you very objectively, compared to Perth, it's way more hectic driving in Singapore, of course. But then life in general is way more hectic than in Perth, right? If you've been to Perth, it's really laid back and relaxed down there. Now try driving in any of the cities neighboring us. All the way up to Philippines.
KL, bro, like, I love KL, my family's from KL, but like traffic lights are optional. And the directions are optional. You can, anywhere is a U-turn.
And signals are unheard of. You know, extrapolate that to Myanmar, to Philippines, to all the major cities. Vietnam. And I've driven in all these cities, and I can tell you that driving in Singapore is actually a breeze if you can get over all the egos.
The egos?
It's the egos. Over there, it's just... You can't see the lane markings. Nobody is following a lane marking because there isn't one, right? Traffic lights are intermittent. You don't even know if you're driving through a blackout area. I can go on and on and on. And not to mention the people running across the road, right? People appear everywhere. The small motorbikes, everywhere, right?
Therein lies my question. Are those drivers in the other countries more skilled? Because, you know, they have no much lights, not this, but they still can navigate through.
By virtue of what they grow up driving, first of all, you will see that the way they drive seems absolutely scary and reckless. And I speak on behalf of a lot of friends who live in these cities, and they'll tell me that that's the way they drive. But it doesn't come from a standpoint of rage or entitlement. How dare you cut into my lane? Oops, it's because I went too slowly. You know, it's simple things like that. Small motorbikes squeezing in you, scratching the corner of your car and all that. That will be a huge deal in Singapore.
So why is it? Why are we like that?
But in Singapore, the entitlement and how much I paid for the car and the COE and how much I'm paying for road tax makes a lot of difference. Hence, a lot of the issue of graciousness, of sharing the road. We should talk a lot about that a lot more. Sharing the road. I think what other cultures have experienced is that they've learned that the road is really for sharing. And oftentimes there are no rules to the sharing, right? It's not like pedestrians have to use this pedestrian crossing. It's not like a zebra crossing means anything in a lot of cities. It means a lot here in Singapore. But then we forgot how to share, right? The motorists are upset with the cyclists are upset with the motorists, and I can go on and on and on about everything else.
He's just quiet because he's like guilty.
No. So I've said this, right, on my socials. I don't want to get in trouble. But to me, if you're cycling to work during peak hour, it is 100,000% fine. But if you are, cycling for your Strava score during peak hour, I think we shouldn't be seeing that.
How do you tell the difference?
When they have a bag.
So that's the rule, huh?
To me, when I see
carry a bag,
someone cycling a bag, or it's clear they're going to work. I'm happy to see the guy on the roads. For me,
it's like the glasses, the Tour de France, the Brompton bike.
If they look like they're going to be Lance Armstrong,
They're like the Lance Armstrong. No, I'm fine with it. For me, it's when they're like side by side. Like when they take out the whole lane.
Let's talk
That's
about
the only one. But he says it's okay.
Apparently,
is it okay?
I read that you're supposed to cycle side by side.
You're not supposed to.
I told you.
Wait. You're not supposed to, but it's not illegal. And it must be a dual lane carriageway. So when it's a dual lane carriageway, you can cycle side by side and take out one lane. And take out one lane. But if it's a single lane carriage lane, you can't.
They don't pay road tax. And that's the entitlement. But it's true.
But then
they don't take any exam, they don't pay road tax, and if I hit them, I'm in trouble.
So a quick caveat there, right? So I drive, but I also ride, right? I used to ride on the road a lot. I don't anymore. Because it's a personal decision that the roads are too crowded for my bicycles.
So you've seen all these videos every day. You must have seen, your team has seen it. So do you feel like it's I used to cycle a lot during COVID because very little cars on the road. Everyone cycled during COVID, let's be honest. Everyone cycled. But nowadays it's dangerous, right, to cycle? I mean, I don't want to make a sweeping statement, but do you feel it's a bit...
I think as a cyclist, your own safety is... it really has to be your own responsibility, right? Choosing the time to cycle is everything. Look at the incidents happening. They're not happening at 4 a.m., right? They're happening when peak hour, everybody is vying for a spot on the road, and you, with your bicycle at the power of your pedals only, can only move that fast, right? You're holding up a lot of people who are rushing to send kids to school, get to work, and etc., etc. So choosing the time to cycle is a big part of having your own safety in play, right? So I think that the cyclist needs to decide that themselves. The roads are there to be shared, for sure. But being entitled about my space on the road as a cyclist in the morning, beside cars, motorbikes, and everybody who can move 10 times the speed that you can, is a little bit like, come on, man. Yeah, let's be fair to everybody else trying to get somewhere as well. Yeah.
I want to talk about accidents because we've seen very tragic cases of school-going children, like even before they hit primary school. Recently, like last few months, so many incidents. I'm having this conversation with my wife about this, right? In a lot of these cases, the people who are taking care of these children may not have been paying attention. After watching your video, by the way, I want to say that your videos have made me a safer driver because I'm very scared not to appear on his page. Okay, I just want to put it out there.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah. So
one less bad driver.
Whenever I see all these, the first thing I think of is the person taking care of the kid was not paying attention. Because how is the kid getting knocked down by a car when you are not injured? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how much do we? How do I put this? How much do we?
I know, where does the fault lie? Yeah, that's what you're saying, right?
Does the fault lie with the pedestrian or the driver?
With jaywalking, right?
Yeah, because a lot of the times, if I'm not wrong, according to the law, the driver always at fault. Am I right to say that? Like
almost 100%.
Almost 100%, right? So where do we?
Well, first of all, as a driver, you are in a powerful vehicle that many people forget is a weapon. It can kill someone, right? But they forget about that because in the tiredness and the commute and all that, after a while I'm just in my car, right? But you are driving something that can kill people. And a lot more people need to remember that as they drive. Now, this case of children, involving children and all that, it always breaks my heart. I have school-going children, right? And having seen things like that, there are a few things that, in terms of education for the children, I can't be there when they're crossing every road. If it's a helper, the question is, what are we doing to educate these foreign nationals who are living and working in our homes and are responsible for the safety of our children when crossing? How well do they know the roads? How well do they understand that a blinking green man means you don't cross, it doesn't mean cross faster, and little things like that. Where is an appropriate place to cross and what's considered jaywalking, right? I think a lot of the emphasis on the caregiver, next is on the kids themselves. I remember bringing my kids for the entire route to their school before the first day of school, just to familiarize them and say, this is where you do not move unless the light is a green man, and even when you're walking, that's where you should be looking. That's where you should be looking, right? The one of the banes of our traffic junctions is the discretionary right turn.
Oh yes.
It has caused so many accidents, I can't even name it, and many fatal. Because discretionary right turns are really dangerous moments. But, so it actually means that just because the light is green, as in the green man is there, and you're obeying all the rules, it doesn't mean a car can't come out of nowhere and hit into you, because the discretionary right turn says that they are just looking for a point to cross. It's not wrong for them to go across when the light is green as well. So there are all these little things in terms of education, and that's really why our page exists. Our page exists not to shame people and not to, make light of bad situations, and not for the dramatic effect. It really exists so that we can help communicate. If you have seen a video of something happening to a child, wouldn't you immediately think, what about my child? What if that was my child?
Your pages, do they have incidents where people are on their phones while walking? Because we talked about people in the car, on the phones. But I tell you, I live in Kallang, Geylang area. I go to Geylang every day to drop my kids off. Jaywalking, insane.
Yeah.
But what kills me most, wrong use of word, what annoys me most is pedestrians who cross zebra crossing and traffic lights on the phone. I mean, I know it's your right of way, but you need to be alert. Why are people crossing the road with
Have you seen those on their phone and with AirPods in, can't hear a single thing?
What is going on?
That's even worse,
what is
right?
happening?
You can't hear, you can't see, and you're crossing a junction where arguably any one of those vehicles can kill you.
Yeah,
right?
so why are people
It's a lack of awareness. If someone doesn't drive at all or has never been behind the wheel of a car or a motorbike and has always constantly been a passenger or a pedestrian, the level of awareness of what a driver can see, hear and experience is very low. Not their fault, this is just not their world, right? So they obey the rules, they wait for they are not jaywalking, they're obeying the rules, but they're not conscious of anything else.
I feel that pedestrians take for granted the
safety of the
zebra
road.
crossing. Just because it's there doesn't mean it won't get knocked down.
That's right.
We've seen so many cases.
And arguably, in the other cities that I mentioned earlier, in the way their traffic is situated, the pedestrians are very, very careful.
Yes.
Right? They, because they're hyper aware that no one needs to obey this light. And I got to take for granted that someone might want to just go through. And they don't even bat an eyelid.
I've seen here that you've worked on a couple of campaigns with the traffic police.
That's right. We've been lucky enough to work with them.
I sent them a few emails. They ignored my emails. They let you TP. I've always wanted to be in a car with the TP because I think to school people. So I want to point out all the bad drivers on the road. What are they focusing on these days? The TP.
These days they are focusing on distracted driving and drink driving. Drink driving has been and will continue to be a big problem. It's all of us have to jump in to talk about it, I think.
Can I ask a question? Because I don't usually drink, right? I only drink when I go KTV. You're not supposed to drink and drive, right? Not at all. Don't do it.
But
there's a threshold, right?
Right.
It's like 1 glass or something.
Right.
Don't drink and drive. But
so the answer is no.
Okay.
There isn't something like, you can have 2 beers, you'll be okay.
No.
You know why? Because every body metabolizes alcohol at a different rate. Right? So someone of a bigger stature could definitely have a beer and drive. But someone of a much smaller stature, if that was a legal limit of 1 beer, maybe their body doesn't metabolize it as fast.
But if you're big, please don't drink and drive. Just trying to say also.
It's no excuse either way,
Right.
right? So actually there was a big discussion about this, and they started, it used to be drunk driving, and now it's like drink driving. That means, do you notice that?
Yeah, I did.
You don't have to be drunk for it to be against the law. The minute you are unable to handle your vehicle and you're unable to be in control of the vehicle, it's against the law already because the drinking affected it. It doesn't matter if it was 1 shot or if it was 50.
We've seen recently in Tampines that horrible accident. This incident leads me to my next question, which is about penalties. Are the penalties adequate? Because the government says that they are. Are these penalties making our roads safer?
This is a really tough question because penalties are a mixture of a few things, right? It could be a financial penalty. It could go as far as jail time, depending on what the incident is, right? I personally think that my trust is that whoever is putting these laws together and setting the penalties are benchmarking it against a certain key defining factor to decide whether or not it's good enough. My personal opinion is that on the whole, for Singapore, it is good enough, right? Because as a whole, most drivers are actually very conscious of the penalties and are actually very conscious of safety and what they learn in the driving school. But you see, no matter how high your penalties are, those few black sheep will always be there. And you can't raise a penalty high enough to deter that completely. I think, right?
Can I add a very random point? We're talking about how driving culture, Singaporeans are not gracious. Is there any way to add, like, what I love, right? When I'm crossing the road, I will always do it. I tell my kids to do this as well. Zebra crossing, hands up, and thank the driver for stopping, you know? And then if someone's giving way to me or whatever, Telok Kurau, a lot of small roads, I'll put my hand up, thank you.
Too, yeah.
Can't we make that part of the driving school thing?
Well, pedestrians don't go to driving school, that's why.
like from young, we need to teach our kids to say thank you to drivers, and we teach our drivers to thank you to each other and be more gracious to...
So it's interesting that you mentioned this because have you seen these videos of driving in, say, Japan or something like that, where if you give way to someone, they cut in and they flash the hazard
I do that now, so double hazard.
Yeah, that's actually becoming more and more prevalent on Singapore roads. And I think that's really good.
Because of you?
I'm glad.
No, I copy that. I copy that.
Congratulations.
Taking
credit.
Yeah. I just scared that people, I did it once, my wife said, the people think you're stopping the car. Because your hazard light, but I said, no, I'm saying thank you.
The hazard light and jam brake maybe lah.
So like,
I like it because it's what you're saying, right? And I mean, starting from the school level is of course important, but I like the way the part that social media plays in shaping societal norms when it comes to driving, right? I like the fact that having your video, a video of you doing a very reckless or dangerous act, potentially coming out on social media, is a strong deterrent. I like that.
Sometimes just holding your phone up makes people start to act a little different.
Why you record me? Why you record me?
No, sometimes someone's a little bit too long in the loading lane, waiting for pickup when you should drive. Then you take out you take out your phone. And
Wow.
Hypothetical. Not that I don't. Not that I do that.
Sometimes really random, weird, maybe not even stopping for taking food. Have you seen vehicles like cruising around the estate at a really slow pace? And when you look in, the driver is either like jabbing his GPS or he's trying to contact, and I'm like,
just stop the car.
Maybe a PhD driver trying to find whoever he's trying to pick up and unable to. I agree. Stop the car if I was the one that stopped the car.
And hazard lights, people don't use hazard lights anymore. Like like so many stationary cars don't have hazard lights.
Yeah. But I think that it works both ways, right? Everyone exhibits some kind of weird behavior at some point when it comes to driving. If we can try to let some of this slide, because one thing about our society, and it's part of the entitlement, is that we feel that if the law says this, or if this is a straight road, if you do anything weird or strange, or you slow down, or you stop, or you do anything other than what you're supposed to do, it's my right to get angry with you. And I think that this actually exacerbates the slightly ungracious behavior that we see on the road.
So we shouldn't be angry, like we shouldn't be angry. Be
understanding. So when I'm like trying to turn into my house, right, and then like there's like the school here, and this is the only road that goes to my house. And then all the parents slow down, every day, 10 minutes to get into the house. If you want to leave between 2 and 3 o'clock, forget it. I'll be like, I should be more gracious.
Yes.
I understand.
It's hard.
It is hard.
Yeah,
but now the parents complain so much that they put 2 TP there.
Yeah, to help them.
To help.
Yeah, it's tough unless that person does that repeatedly and always. Then
it's not that person.
It's a whole line of cars, right?
God,
I have a question that's not factual, or could be factual. I'm not sure you get the statistics.
Let's hear it.
You've seen so many videos, right? Is there a particular model of car whose drivers are always, making mistakes and never signal or whatever?
Yes, of course. It starts with a no. I'm not going to fall for that one.
No, it's general.
But in meme culture and all that, you know the brands of the cars.
My boss drives that kind of car.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
It doesn't come with signal. It must top up $10,000 for left and right.
That's right. Yeah, it doesn't come with an actual signal of a working signal. Yeah.
So any truth to it? This hypothetical car.
Like are there certain cars where drivers are not as gracious or?
Okay.
Yes, no, it's fine.
Wow, this is such a
tricky question.
Fine.
Yes.
Oh yes.
I believe there's truth to it. Yeah, I believe there's truth.
Is it because they pay more?
No, it's a demographic thing.
Okay,
yeah, certain brands attract certain demographics, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that, I think it's a great way to thank Jason Lim for taking the time to talk with us today from Roads in about everything Roads in SG. Please go follow him, and we need to be more patient, more gracious,
very gracious,
more loving on the roads, and more understanding. That's the most important thing. So take a deep breath, keep your eyes open, look around, whether you're a driver or pedestrian, please. No need lah. No need. Unless you're scolding, don't scold somebody.
No, I don't scold people on the
My wife
road.
always angry with me, no? She said I always scold people on the road.
Happens to the best of us.
And with that, my name is JK.
And I'm Jade Rasif.
Thank you for tuning in to the Situation Report.